Good morning, everybody. This is Walk the Dog with Riot Mort, and it is Monday morning, 6 o'clock in the morning. Time to start the long week. And it was a good weekend. The streams were really fun. Got to get coached by the number one ranked player in the world, which is kind of a cool experience, and definitely it was useful. It was one of those things that sort of reminded me of like parts of the game at the highest level, how to experience them and things like that. But at the same time, I gotta say, it actually just made me like a lot more happy with the result. Like the way he was coaching to use items is like definitely what we envisioned, right? It's like get creative, use what you have in the right situation, adapt. Like the way I was being coached to play is exactly the way we want the game to be played, which was really nice. And so it was nice to see sort of the rank one player in the world do that, because I know a lot of people will do, BIS guides or one tricks or whatever. It's like, no, you can actually be, really, really good about it. So, and the other thing is, I think generally we were playing fast 9 pretty much the entire thing on day 2, because like the one time we played a reroll comp is actually the one game we didn't top 2. Like it's pretty wild actually. And so it's so interesting because like I'm getting feedback and people are saying like, oh, it's a reroll meta, and we just gained 400 LP without playing reroll once, really. So yeah, it was pretty cool. I don't know. I generally walked away from that really happy. Plus, it's always a chance to throw some money at a good cause, which is always good. So, yeah. Overall, it was a good weekend. Also, the pre-release, man, the Magic pre-release was a lot of fun. It's funny, I had the red-white, deck with equipment, and everyone was saying how I was so lucky for getting Lightning, but it was that Squall card that just like carried me, and the thematic excitement of like playing Squall from Final Fantasy VIII with 2 of his weapons equipped and no one being able to deal with it and gaining. There's one game I had like 48 life. It's like, oh, good stuff. So that was a lot of fun. Yeah, it was just one of those generally good weekends. Yeah, so cool. All right. Oh yeah, what's this week? This week, I'm continuing to prepare for the curveball, and we got 2 more patches left this set. So yeah. Also, oh yeah, next week I will be in LA. So got to get ready for that too. Which means these Walk the Dog episodes will be a little different, since I won't be here. But I am still going to try to do them. So yeah, that'll be fun. Okay, let's do questions. I got some questions. All right. Is there ever a world where TFT outgrows League, or outgrows the need to be attached to League, or you've used all the content, or, TFT has outgrown League? The answer to this is I don't think so. Now, okay, everything I'm about to say is actually a lot of the decision making that happens a layer above me. Like my boss handles a lot of this stuff. This is like the company strategy level stuff. So I'm going to say stuff that may not match with his opinion. But this is just my 2 cents. Is that I actually think Riot has a chance to do something kind of innovative in the industry. And I think they've toyed with it, but I don't think they've delved deep enough personally. And I think that's one of the things that when I was first really getting into TFT, when I say first getting into it, I mean the first 2 or 3 years. Like, I really appreciated the fact that I could buy a League Battle Pass and play TFT and keep getting progress on my League Battle Pass so that I could stay attached to that game. And for a while there, I was still buying every League skin because it was like, this is a game I like. And if you look at a lot of the games out there, I think the last time I've experienced something like this was Xbox 360 with Gamerscore. It's not really that big anymore, but for a while there, like, people were really excited about their gamer scores and your 1,000 points per game, and it was like one meta system that allowed for progression on a systemic whole. And I think Riot has some of that as well, because I think people who play Riot games, at least in the, Western markets, people who play Riot games tend to play, a couple of the Riot games. Maybe not all of them, but a couple of them, right? Maybe you play Lore and TFT, or League and TFT, or League and Valorant. There are people that tend to enjoy that type of game, that competitive type of game. And I think having the games be synergistic with each other is a good thing. I personally think we could lean into that even a little bit more. Or, like, the cool thing is, when Arcane Season 2 comes out, and it's like, well, League's got some cool stuff for you to do, and TFT's got some cool stuff for you to do, and even Valorant has some cool weapons for you to get. It's like, those kind of feel pretty good. And so, I don't know, I think that synergy between the games actually helps reinforce each other, where, if one's got a cool thing going on, that can help another, right? Like, let's say we release a super sick TFT set, and people come back and they play that TFT set, and they have fun with it for a while, and then like 2 or 3 months later, they're like, okay, I saw what I needed to see from that set. I've reached my rank cap. I'm in a good spot. But now I'm kind of getting bored. What do I want to do? I don't know. Maybe I'll go check out what's going on in ARAM, or I'll go check out what's going on in, Valorant. And I think that's a good thing. I think, so even if let's say hypothetically TFT did become like the most played game and anything like that, I don't know that we'd ever truly, truly outgrow it. Now, let's take this to a hyperbolic example. Let's say for some reason TFT had 10 times the player base League did, right? Which, again, to be clear, has not happened and will probably never happen. It would take something catastrophic on League for this to ever be remotely true. But let's say it did. I think all that would actually change is that, like, the motivation, like if you think about a company and using its resources, where those resources go would change. So, for example, instead of, the best skins being made for League, we might use the skin team to make, new skins for the coolest TFT set, right? Like, those resources probably would just get reallocated to where they get the highest return on investment. But again, that's something that is not likely to happen. But so I don't know. I don't think there's a world where we'd like truly outgrow League. There's definitely a world, and an unlikely one, like you said, but there's a world where maybe we, became bigger than League, but like even that's so unlikely. Because the other reality of it is that, the games industry is 40 plus years at this point. We kind of know what players like and don't like in each market. And there's slight shifts, but there aren't like radical differences. And one of the things we know is that the strategy genre, the auto battler strategy genre, not that high a cap. It's in terms of the game industry, it's a relatively niche genre. No strategy game is ever going to win Game of the Year, So, early traffic. I say traffic like there isn't one car every 30 minutes around here. But yeah, so the fact that we are a strategy game makes us inherently niche, which means our potential for growth is already inherently limited by that fact. And I think that's one of the other things that people talk about is like, holy crap, that's a lot of bugs. What is the game's growth? Have we already peaked? Is there still room to grow? certainly we're seeing in some regions we grow, So, yeah. I don't know. I'm getting a little off topic now, but that's kind of the gist of it. Generally, I don't know. TLDR, I don't think we're ever going to outgrow League or anything like that. I think us being synergistic with them is a good thing. But who knows? Who knows what the future holds? Okay, next question. What are your thoughts on the full open strat? Now, the person asking this question was like, it feels pretty unnatural to just like have a completely open board with no units on it, anything, and that to be a strategy. So my answer is, I am generally pretty positive on the full open strat. Generally. Because at its highest level, if you think about the randomness of TFT, right? TFT is a game where you get resources randomly, and you have to use those resources to get to the best outcome. Now, in stage 2, if you can 100 health win streak, that is optimal, 100%, right? There is almost no world, assuming you can do it without, pressing reroll and spending econ. But if you can 100 health win streak, that is the number one situation to end up in. That's a good thing, because trying to play a strong board and win is great. But let's say you try to go 100 HP and you lose a round, right? You lose some health, you lose some streak. You're going to be down a little bit of gold. And that little bit of gold is during stage 2 when the gold is compound interesting, right? Like being down that last 6 gold, the 3 gold from 2.6 and the 3 gold from 2.7, can be the difference between 30 and 40 gold, which can compound and put you down like 10 to 15 gold behind somebody else, which isn't a lot, but when you're playing on a game of margins, that could be the difference between you hitting your 2-star 4-cost carry or not, or leveling up a stage earlier so that you have access to the bags quicker, right? That gold can matter. And so if everyone's just trying to play the strongest board, essentially what it comes down to is who got luckiest with their shots, right? Like if you and I are both playing to win and I just happen to hit a bunch of 2-stars and items that go with them, you see that sometimes where it's like, oh, that person just has a Graves 2 with a Steric and a BT. Guess they're the win streaker this stage. Okay, is what it is. Hi, bunny. There's a bunny. Guess they're the win streaker this stage. And that lack of agency around stage 2 can be a bit of a problem. It makes our game feel like it's just luck. But this is where I think loss streaking adds a lot of depth to our game. The ability to recognize that, hey, I'm in a situation where I'm not going to be the high roller this stage, so I'm going to take a different approach, and I'm going to trade my health, which is a resource, for even more econ. I'm going to play very cheap boards. I'm going to convert that health into Cypher. I'm going to try to get maximum streak and good carousel priority. So I get, we talked about carousel before, where carousel is going to give me advantage in items later. That adds an element of skill expression where you can make that decision. I think that's a good thing. But that's not exactly what your question is. Your question isn't, is loss streaking good? Because you have no problem with that. It's, is open forwarding good? Now, open forwarding is just the most extreme version of loss streaking, right? You're basically saying, I accept 100%. I will take maximum damage here so that I can guarantee my loss streak and have maximum econ value. And again, I think that's okay. I think turning the dial to 10 on a loss streak, totally fine. Does it clash a little bit with our loss streak traits? A little. And in fact, when we tried to do the fortune augment, that was something that backfired pretty heavily, because the fortune augment, you literally have to play units, right? It literally was correct to open fort. Whereas at least with Cypher, you have to play 3 Cypher, and the counter is a full open fort. You can get hard countered, and that's a good thing. It also kind of makes for some hype plays where it's like, who's trying to outsmart who with their lost streaks? Are they going to go full open, or are they going to corner their tank? Which again, that's depth. That's depth to the game, which I think is a good thing. Now, a common question that always gets asked is, well, why allow full open forwarding? Why not be like, you have to play at least 1 unit or 2 units? And the thing is, you could designer arbitrarily put a line somewhere, but it's not really that intuitive, right? Or if you play 0 units, take double damage, then it's just who plays the 1 weakest unit. And it becomes a memory exercise of learning that Seraphine is the worst unit you can play, or Zyra is the worst unit you can play, or, and then we'd have to wait for a Ledux video of what is the worst 1 unit you can play on a board to guarantee a loss. Pretty sure it's Zyra. Or no, sorry, pretty sure it's Seraphine. It's gotta be Seraphine. But, there you go. That'd be the fun. So yeah, generally, I don't know. Like I said, I think lost streaking adds an element of skill expression to our game that is very healthy. It is a little solved at this point. Like, players who know how to lost streak, they know how to lost streak. I know right now one of the things in the meta that is quote unquote frustrating to fight against is like full lost streak amp, and you high roll the Samira. But again, that's a good thing that there's a comp where it's like, if you have a bad start, consider this option, play it well, maximize your econ. And even next patch with the slightly lower amount of gold, that comp's going to get a little harder. Though, again, I think you guys, when I say, sometimes we have to be vague with these patch notes. And it's like, I want you to imagine if the total gold from PvE rounds was like 40 before, and now it's 38 on average. It's like, people read these patch notes and they're like, oh, now that there's less gold, this is going to be way different. And it's like, well, no. You're just going to have a wheel less goldy, but in a game of inches, I suppose. In a game of inches. But yeah, so I don't know. I don't look at open forwarding as a problem that needs to be solved. I look at it as something good for our game. So, all right. Any goals you are looking forward to outside of TFT? So this is a really good question. I'll try not to go too long here because I don't want to bore you guys with non-TFT stuff. But goals are, I'm a very, very goal-oriented person, right? Like, one of the reasons I think I'm really good at working on TFT is it's like, we have a goal, ship a set. Then we have another goal, ship a set, ship a patch, right? Like, there are tons and tons of goals, and I'm always pushing towards the next goal. Outside of life, for a while there, our goal was save up enough money to get our dream house, if you will, and move back out of California, because we did not like living in California, so that we could be happier here. And that was the goal. And even once we got here, I had little goals like I wanted to get a shelf put up so I could put my game collection out on display and get them out of their totes. And now basically everything I ever had that was in totes now that I want out of totes is almost unpacked. I think the only thing left is the amiibo collection. And it's like, that was a goal. But I will say, I've been very fortunate in my life. And I'm 42 now, and I am running out of goals. Because like, the idea, I definitely, I'm at the point where it's like, I have what I need, I'm not one of those people that wants super nice cars or an even bigger house or anything. Like, I don't know. Life's good right now. I don't worry about it too much. I'm very fortunate. So, but lack of goals can lead to extreme lack of motivation, which would be a problem. So I'm actually in a weird transition period where I need to find some new goals. Now, I've had some small ones, right? Like, for example, I got back into Magic a little bit, and what I've been doing is I pick a set, I buy a couple boxes, I organize them, I have fun, and then I find out which ones I'm missing, buy a few singles, and I have a complete set. And like I finished 3 sets of Magic cards so far. Modern Horizons 3, Tarkir, and Dominaria. And Final Fantasy will hopefully be the 4th. That's fun. But like, these are like week-long goals. These are short-term goals. Long-term goals, like, I got stuff like make sure my daughter is set up for success so that she can start living her own life, because she's 17, almost 18, and needs to figure out what the hell she's going to do after high school instead of just living at home. So stuff like that. I do think one of the things, I also got to figure out what I'm doing with Riot, because at some point, like I said, before I die, I got to make my Metroidvania. And if I have to do that with Riot, great. If I get to do that with Riot, great. If I have to do that solo, there will be a time when I need to figure that out, So, but yeah, I feel like my mid-20s to 40 was my like really, really big goal thing. And now I'm reaching the back half. I guess the only other big goal on the horizon is get to a point where I can consider actual retirement from work, but that still feels a long way off, like a long way off. So I try not to think in like terms of 10 plus year goals. And there's only one thing I can think of that would cause me to retire in the next 10 years. And that's incredibly unlikely. So yeah. But my advice to you, if you're watching this, is try to set yourself a goal that can be achieved in a year or two and work towards it. Like I said, the last big one for me was the house. So, yeah. All right, there you go. Like I said, not too boring. Didn't want to bore you with my personal goals. All right, last question of the day. Yes. Taro's question of ranked versus progression versus esports. Now, I don't want to bore you with all the details here. There was a lot of parts of Tara's question, but the gist of it is players have a need when they play a ranked game, right? A lot of our players, most of our players, in fact, when I say most, I mean, I'm literally talking like 95% or more. What they actually want from a rank system is a progression system. 95% of our players want to log in, play the game, feel like they're making progress, push towards a goal, and achieve that goal, right? The number of posts you get, it's like first time I ever hit gold, first time I ever hit plat, right? These are meaningful goals that feel good when you achieve them. That's a big deal. And that motivation is an exciting reason to keep playing the game, in addition to having fun. And it's why, ranked games typically have more hours. You're pushing towards a goal. That's a good thing. Goals are good. But if the goal is too easy to achieve, right? Like let's say it was literally just win 30 games. And as you win those 30 games, you just keep moving up through the progression system, right? If that's all the goal was, it doesn't feel very good. It's just like you just went through the motions. You didn't accomplish something of difficulty, right? Like your goal has to be comparable to somebody else achieving the same goal and feel really good. And for different people, that bar will be, it could be self-based or friend-based or wider-based, but like the goal has to be meaningful, right? And so when you're designing a progression system, like I said, it can't just be play games. Now that works for some people, right? Like for example, if you look at our set revivals, that's essentially what their progression system is just, earn XP by playing the game. And there are leaderboards on our set revivals. And those leaderboards essentially amount to who has earned the most of their little points by playing the game and optimizing their little talent tree. And some people like that. They do. Like that's okay, right? And that is an acceptable progression system for a lot of people. But everyone has different motivations, right? For a player like some of our challenger players, the motivation here is to be the best compared to everybody else, right? Like it's not self-done, it's like comparative to others. And so there's a big deal about being rank 1 or top 1,000, right? And so you need an actual comparable measurement system for those players, right? And that's where an actual rank system comes in. This is also where esports come in, right? Because like even something like ladder, yeah, you can hit ranked 1 with games played. But then like sometimes it becomes, people will go, yeah, but they just have more time to play or whatever, right? There's always some excuse for people who don't get there. But that barometer for measurement becomes different, right? You hit 2000 LP, but how many games did it take you? You hit 2000 LP, but what patch did you do it? Who was playing during that time? What region? Blah, 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 right? There's always an excuse because no matter what system you come up with, someone can change the goalpost of the measurement system and go, well, now that's not the one I would think that we should use. Esports are essentially supposed to be the finalized, undisputable version of this, right? It's like we have different measurements, but the reality is the one we have chosen that we will give recognition to. So esports is essentially a rank system for the highest level of players only, with finality of what the parameters are, right? So esports is, okay, we have decided that the way we judge the best TFT players is if we have them sit down and play for a weekend, about 18 games, and whoever wins those 18 games and does the best is the best player. That is how we determine the best TFT player. And again, even something like that, there will be arguments, right? I know for a long time there in Lobby 2, they would constantly complain that like the sample size wasn't big enough, and this is ridiculous, and there's too much variance in one weekend, and actually the real tournament should have like 100 games in it. Which, you know, ignoring the practicality of running a tournament that had 100 games in it. But that's, you know, the way they felt. But the reality is the esports has determined, nope, it's 18 games, get over it. This is what it is, right? And so each of these things provides a different output for the game. The progression system is for most players to go, I'm making progress and feel good about it. And that's why I think in particular for a lot of our players, like anything pre-masters, there's a lot of things that protect you, right? There's, you know, you can't demote from the brackets when you're at, you know, you can't go below 0 LP unless you're at 0 LP and then you get demoted. So there's like a demotion protection around, right? Like there are things to make sure that your progression is a little friendlier because the progression system, but it has just enough tension with other players that it still feels meaningful, right? So progression system that you can move through but still feels meaningful, big important thing for most of our players. And so if we were ever to make any changes to a system like that, it would need to accomplish those same goals. It can't become something that's too easy to grind through, right? I mentioned the King of Glory one, for example, and the King of Glory one where, you know, they just have it progression to challenger and then you're in the real rank system. The drawback of that system is when you're just doing those first 2 games, it's a grind. It's a slog. It's boring, you know? Then we have the actual ranked thing at the top. And again, this is for our top, 5% of players. The comparative measures, the really, like, I want to optimize the game. And then we have esports, which is for the top, 500 players of our game for any particular region. We have multiple regions, so it's actually closer to top 5,000 players or more even, Jesus. But the point is, esports is for the true ultimate measurement of how the game is being optimized. So, yeah, all of those are important. But the thing is, you have to make sure that they all are interactive with each other, right? And this is one of the reasons why 4v4 as an esport is really risky, because if the way you're progressing through our game is single player, and then all of a sudden the esports takes a hard left and is a completely different game, that's weird. That's really weird. It's actually one of the things I think League has struggled with, is that solo queue and team play are very different. Very, very different. Whereas ladder climb in TFT and tournaments in TFT, not that different. There are differences, to be clear, right? the way to optimize LP gain versus I actually need to get first and win tournaments is different for sure, but they're not that different. So yeah, I think they're all necessary. And as much as the competitive players would want a ranked system that feels more like their ranked system, that would drive away a lot of players. I think that's why most modern games are shifting away from that true ranked and into that more progression style. So yeah, there you go. All right, we hit the 30 minutes. Those are the 4 questions I brought today. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. If you're still watching this at this point, just leave a comment that says I'm still watching this. I'm actually curious how many people make it this far in the video. I'm sure there's ways to look up this analytics. I don't know what they are yet. I haven't dug that deep. Old man fights with media. I'm not a YouTube empire or anything like that. But just curious how many people watch this. So, okay. That's going to do it for me. I got work to do. Breakfast. Get ready for work. Take the kids to school. Oh, yeah. So the kids' last week of school, by the way. They're done on Thursday. So then it's summer vacation for them. So the kids around the house. Woohoo! So, okay. That's going to do it for me. Until next time, take it easy.